The fire here keeps its distance from the water, flames steady but watchful, as if aware it is not the only thing awake. The river breathes nearby, slow and even, carrying the night along its back. I have stood at crossings like this, when the dark felt undecided. I will set the moment down now, while the surface still listens. The crossing lay where the river narrowed, stones rising just enough to invite a careful step. They were rounded and pale, their tops dry, their sides darkened by long patience beneath the flow. The current did not hurry here, but it did not pause either. It slipped around each stone as if considering them individually. People crossed one at a time. That was the custom, not because the stones would not bear more weight, but because the water seemed to prefer singular attention. A lone figure moved more cleanly through its noticing. Two questions lingered between the banks. What does the river say when it is not being asked? And who is meant to hear it? Ripples formed easily at the crossing. Each step sent a circle outward, touching the next stone, the next current, until the shape of the water changed and then forgot itself. The river accepted disturbance without complaint, but it never failed to respond. Sound behaved differently there. Voices from either bank arrived softened, stretched thin by water and air. Beneath that, another layer moved low, continuous, not quite sound, not quite silence. Those who paused mid-crossing often felt it first. Not words, cadence. The river carried something like speech without language. A shifting undercurrent, rising and falling, as though many voices were speaking at once, but had agreed not to interrupt one another. Some called it imagination. The river did not argue. Stones pressed, cool and sure, underfoot. Each one held a different temperature, a different texture, as if they had learned individuality from the flow that shaped them. Moss clung where it could. Water traced familiar paths around each obstacle, never repeating itself exactly. A traveller reached the middle stone one evening as the light faded. They stopped there, balanced, listening more than looking. The banks felt equidistant, the river felt closer. The voices beneath the surface grew clearer in that stillness. Not louder nearer. They did not ask for attention. They assumed it. What rose up was not memory, but record. The sense of passage layered upon passage. Feet that had slipped. Feet that had crossed safely. Pauses taken for courage. Pauses taken for nothing at all. The river remembered them all without favour. I once stood on that same middle stone long enough to realize the voices were not calling to me, but moving through me, as they had through so many others. The traveller shifted their weight and continued on. As soon as the step was taken, the voices receded, settling back into the deeper flow. The ripples spread, then dissolved, and the river resumed its steady conversation with itself. On the far bank, the ground rose, gently, welcoming, familiar. Looking back, the stones appeared unchanged. The water moved as it always had. Nothing marked the moment except the feeling of having passed through something attentive. Those who cross there rarely speak of it, not because it is forbidden, but because language feels too fixed for what the river offers. It is enough to know that something was heard, even if it could not be kept. The fire beside us burns evenly now, its reflection trembling on the water's edge. Somewhere, a crossing waits, stones holding their places, ripples carrying quiet voices beneath the surface. If you ever pause mid-step and listen, the river will already be speaking.